Adventist Mission Aviation to fly earthquake victims home. One person arrested for vandalizing cables. And another bridge washed away by floods.
This is the National EMTV News with Mary Bertulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Monday's news. The Adventist Mission Aviation has come on board to assist in repatriating patients from Mount Bosavi back to Hela Province. Today, the head of the Western Highlands Adventist Mission, Pastor Alen Akili, visited the patients at Mount Hagen General Hospital to give some assurance. Director of Medical Services, Dr. Jonah Kurubi, thanked Adventist Aviation for their kind gesture.
Last Friday, EMTV News caught up with the patients at Mount Hagen General Hospital and wrote the story of their struggle to return to Mount Bosavi. Mount Hagen General Hospital was kind enough to accommodate and feed them while waiting for the repatriation. They had no means of contacting authorities to help them return. We then told this story to Western Highlands SDA Mission President Pastor Alen Akili on Friday about the ordeal. Without much hesitation, he told the crew that the mission is going to assist.
So kamlo milo for him good news kamlo yupla semester mission irelo assist yupla go back long bless yupla.
Today, Pastor Akili visited the patients and broke the news to them that some of the patients will be traveling back at the end of this week. The rest will travel to Mount Bosavi next week. Mount Hagen Hospital DMS Dr. Jonah Kurubi said the hospital couldn't do much in the repatriation effort, but is looking after the patients and their guardians.
SDA Mission Aviation long. Kampung mibla lo disla money long give goodness kam lo mibla na tok lo bayo help mibla. Thank you.
Some of the patients who are unfit to travel will remain at the hospital. However, Pastor Akili said the Mission Aviation will be available to repatriate them whenever they are ready to travel. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
A bridge linking Bogia and Sumcar districts in Medang province was washed away at the Nubia plantation in Bogia yesterday morning. Teddy Ireng, who was on the ground and took pictures of the bridge, told EMTV News due to heavy downpour and flooding, the bridge was washed away, carrying with it a PMV truck. This is the third disaster to hit Medang province.
This washed-away bridge is the third bridge to hit Medang in a space of 3 months. The latest disaster now adds to the difficulties commuters from Bogia, Sumcar, Middle Ramu and Eastern West Sepik provinces are already facing. In January, the Bana Bridge along North Coast Road collapsed, forcing commuters to pay tukina to use either ferries or a makeshift bridge. 2 weeks ago, heavy downpour washed away the road section at Iguruwe of Usino district.
So last we talked with some national government, one time provincial government of Medang, almost walk bungwan.
We're looking like a big play through and the passenger in the road to Noba is in Bakarap.
People need them government law, straighten bridge quickly, as fast as they can.
The bridges along North Coast Road and the washed-away road at Usino district along the Leh Medang Highway cuts off access for big trucks. It is increasingly becoming a national emergency. Martha Lewis, National EMTV News, Medang.
Goroka police have arrested one person involved in the recent vandalism of telecommunication cables that have affected business houses and communities in Goroka. These cables were being cut and sold to recycling companies. The same has been experienced in Medang and Kimbe. However, no suspects were caught there.
One of the prime suspects involved in vandalizing telecommunication cables was caught at 6 Mile in Goroka. Police managed to apprehend the suspect with the help of community members. These cables were cut and later sold to recycling companies. Business houses and communities in Goroka have experienced telecommunication problems due to this.
Services get affected.
The same has also been experienced in Medang and Kimbe, where cables have been cut, disrupting telecommunication services. Police have not apprehended suspects in those areas due to the lack of community support. In NICTA's new act passed in 2009, those caught vandalizing telecommunication cables will serve a maximum penalty of 15 years imprisonment or will pay a fine of 200,000 kina. In Goroka, telecom workers are currently working in 3 different locations to restore these cables.
Na north na all town Arbla town area still along the highway big cable all cutting too.
Locals are being urged to take ownership of these services provided and to respect state property. Lucy Kopana, National MTV News.
Here with National MTV News, we'll have more of the day's top stories after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Dr. Nick Dalla has been appointed the new director of the National AIDS Council Secretariat. In a media conference this morning, the new director announced some of his plans for the council, including a new strategy that will focus more on STI prevention. Dr. Dalla's remarks were supported by Health and HIV/AIDS Minister Sepuka Temo.
Dr. Dalla is no stranger to the fight against HIV and AIDS and the AIDS Council Secretariat. In the last 5 years, he has been the principal advisor to the government on issues to do with HIV. Today was his first appearance as the director of the AIDS Secretariat.
And so the job is not new, as correctly mentioned by the minister, but the task is even bigger because it is now taking on a senior management role.
With his experience and his medical background on the study of HIV, he says a new strategy will be put in place to focus more on STIs, which he believes will be an effective way to combat HIV. This, he says, will be a huge task. However, once resources are mobilized, the new strategy will be rolled out through a collective effort from all stakeholders.
To effectively combat HIV, we need to also address STIs simultaneously and with equal importance and urgency. So that's why the development of the new strategy, I was the co-person in there. And so it will be fitting that I advise the government accordingly and through the guidance of the council and the minister to advise the government in terms of mobilizing resources.
Supporting Dr. Dalla's plans, Health Minister Sepuka says HIV and AIDS is a development issue and he will work with Dr. Dalla in moving forward the new strategy. He says under the new plans, they will work around to see the powers of the NACS are distributed to every province through their provincial health authorities. Similar plans will be applied to combat other diseases like TB and malaria.
Chairman and the director will report directly to me as minister. And then we will now have to go back to the provinces under the provincial health authorities. In our previous pacts, how do we get the STI, HIV, TB officers streamlined, and how do they report directly to the director and us at this level, and for me to report to Parliament. So that's the structure that we are looking at.
Meanwhile, out of the 117 staff, 94 have been retrenched, while 23 have remained as casuals. 38 new positions have been created and will be advertised in the coming weeks.
I will draw on the experience of people who are here and also with the council and the leadership of the chairman to make sure that this organization functions with good governance, which has been lacking for some time.
Stanley Over Jr., National MTV News.
Youth from the Seventh-day Adventist churches in Leh celebrated Global Youth Day at the weekend by feeding over 300 people in a community lacking basic services. Community leader Benny Paul said this was the first time they have received support from others. This is an annual event the SDA Mission celebrates. This year's theme was Water Food Drive.
The young people from Abongtu and Red Rock SDA Church at the Back Road area in Leh visited this community during the Sabbath School program and fed 350 people on Saturday. Members of the churches, including children, supported the youth and celebrated their annual Global Youth Day with the theme Food and Water Drive.
The previous year, Union Mission blood donation. The previous year, okay. Now this year, food and water drive. Reach out one kind of stuff. Reach out help him.
This community is known as the Second Seven Dump. Part of the area accommodates disposable waste from companies and industries. The area is located in Nawai district, but under the administrative authority of Leh district.
So, like power or water, 2% mintas. Me plus now they you come to give me this light.
The SDA youth leader of Abung 2 Church, Ronis Kaviti, said it is everyone's responsibility to visit such communities to help bring changes. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
The national government has indicated that the national gas policy will soon be realized. Petroleum Minister Fabian Pock, speaking at the second PNG Petroleum and Energy Summit, said the policy was a priority of government through the second Alotau Accord. With PNG still regarded as an ideal investment destination for the oil and gas sector, Petroleum Minister Fabian Pock announced the government's intention to finalize the national gas policy. Speaking at the opening session of the second PNG Petroleum and Energy Summit, Minister Pock said the policy would form the basis of future project negotiations within the oil and gas space. He says this is being done in line with the second Alotau Accord, which seeks to maximize benefits for Papua New Guinea.
This white paper is the first step in the important process to reform Papua New Guinea's national gas policy. It sets out the Papua New Guinea's government's vision and plans for implementing the necessary policy and legislative framework to match international best practices in order to support PNG's economy, development and prosperity.
The announcement by Minister Pock comes at a time when the country is now progressing with numerous projects, one of which is the Total-led Papua LNG project, a project which the government believes will play a major role in supporting the country's economy.
The paper is the foundation for transforming PNG into one of the world's leading gas-producing nations. The policy and legislative framework the government plans to implement will serve that purpose and benefit all Papua New Guineans.
The development of the national gas policy is in line with reforms to the current Department of Petroleum and Energy, with plans for the Department of Petroleum to become the National Petroleum Authority, similar to what the Mineral Resources Authority is to the mining sector. Something which Minister Pock says is aimed at promoting more transparency within the lucrative oil and gas resource sector.
Nearly 80% of the country's current recoverable reserves will have been committed for production when 2 more gas projects are completed in the next 2 to 3 years. It is therefore critical that policies is assessed to ensure that the benefits of these products are realized domestically.
Here with National EMTV News, we go for a break now. When we come back, some stories making headlines overseas, including the re-election of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has been easily re-elected in an expected landslide victory. He'll now serve another 6 years in office after securing nearly 74% of the votes.
Hours after the polls closed, the newly re-elected president was reinforcing to the world that irrespective of what they may want, Putin's Russia is still going strong.
It is very important to stay unified, my dear people. It is very important to win over even those who might have voted for different candidates. We need this unity to move forward.
To cheers of Russia, Russia from the faithful, he took the applause, aware that one way or another he'd secured more than 70% of the vote. His team lost no time fueling the ongoing diplomatic crisis between Russia and the UK.
This is largely thanks to the UK, actually.
Achieving his fourth term in office was quite literally a box-ticking exercise. In this election, the outcome was known long before the first ballot was cast. In 97,000 polling stations, Russians had cast their votes. They had 8 candidates to choose from, but even the most high-profile of them knew there was no chance.
Well, I'm not going to be president this time. There's only one person who is always president in our country.
Images from some of the polling stations do appear to show a degree of voter fraud. This man posts 2 voting slips into the box before walking away, only to return with another one. In a number of polling stations, there have been claims of ballot box stuffing and forced voting. Many will cry foul at this victory, but their words will be lost amid the celebrations.
The violence in Afrin, Syria, has been devastating. CNN has obtained exclusive footage showing some of the aftermath of the conflict. We warn viewers, this report contains some graphic scenes.
Afrin's main hospital was a busy place. Until, that is, doctors say Turkish jets struck it Friday, killing 9. Turkish officials deny the hospital was hit. CNN has obtained exclusive footage shot last week in the Kurdish Syrian town of Afrin. Early Sunday, Turkish forces and their Syrian rebel allies took control of most of the town. Relatives try to comfort Zainab. Her 3-month-old son, Aziz, was killed in an airstrike. I lost my little child, she cries. Where are you, my son? The death of Aziz may be just another statistic in the slaughterhouse that is Syria, not to his mother. Asya Abdu can't take the sounds of jets and bombs anymore. Asya's wounds are inside her head. Dr. Mohammed Isa is Afrin's last psychiatrist. He says the rest fled. He can only give his patients half doses. Supplies of medicine are running low.
There is psychotic episodes and depression and anxiety and something suicidal to get rid of this war. Some people try to suicidal to injure themselves and kill themselves.
Further to the east, the Kurds were key American and Western allies in the fight against ISIS in Syria. But here, alone in their hour of need, they're at the mercy of the Turks and their Syrian rebel fighters.
Yeah, Trump. Yeah, Macron.
Trump, Macron, you're vampires who incited Erdogan to attack us, this man says. Bombs and rockets don't discriminate between soldier and civilians. Everyone is in the line of fire. Enduring the pain of war, tormented by the agony of those they love.
In Australia, hundreds of kilometres away, catastrophic bushfires have devastated a small town on the New South Wales south coast. 69 homes in Tathra were destroyed when the fast-moving blaze raced across dry land and jumped a river.
This was Tathra early today, a seaside village 400 kilometres south of Sydney, now devastated. Street after street, row after row, dozens of homes and businesses just smoking ruins. The random nature of the fire so evident. Its embers hit some homes, levelled them, but skipped others, left them unscathed. The only signs of life, emergency services vehicles and crews stamping out pockets of bush still burning and hosing the ashes of once substantial homes.
Oh, the gas bottles blowing up and the houses roaring. It was a day out of hell.
The smoke lingering over the town was a welcome relief, a sign that the ferocious wind that whipped last night's firestorm was gone. A blowtorch blast that saw people run for their lives as the flames bore down. Showers of embers were driven ahead of the main front, dropping like firebombs, sparking grass fires that spread to trees and homes. The first emergency warnings came through just before 4 p.m. Sunday. No time to gather belongings, homes were abandoned as families jumped into cars and fled. The road out of town goes west, but that was straight into the fire. Escape was like running a gauntlet.
Just horrendous heat and in your face.
But some stayed behind, like Brett Anderson, who only moved here 1 month ago.
Welcome to Tathra.
A 25-year volunteer firefighter, he saved his house and 4 others.
There was no one else here, so just the 4 houses virtually.
Some 200 to 300 managed to get to an evacuation centre at Bega.
Just seen a number of families there who got out just in time and they've lost their homes, but they're together.
While others fled to Tathra Beach. By 6 p.m, residents were told to take shelter in place. Too late to leave. RFS aircraft dumped retardant chemicals and water from the sky, but it was like spitting into a hurricane. They saved at least 150 homes, but it's been confirmed 69 homes were lost, 39 damaged and 30 caravans or cabins destroyed.
I just thought that there was no hope that we'd have a home to go to.
When you come up into the hills around Tathra, you can see how the devastation picked its way through this small town. Here, 2 properties completely destroyed, their pockets untouched. The outcome yesterday relied on wind and luck. A local restaurant and art gallery renowned for its views, destroyed. It had been up for sale. The morning's aerial pictures testament to the fire's power. Those weren't holiday shacks but solid brick and steel, many meant as retirement havens, wrecked. Incredibly, there have been no reported deaths, injuries or anyone reported missing. The fire started near Reedy Swamp east of Bega, driven toward the coast by hot, dry winds. It jumped the Bega River and roared into Tathra. The worst hit streets were those squarely in the path of the blaze: Thompson Drive, Wildlife Drive and Sanctuary Place. The Insurance Council declared the fire a catastrophic event, meaning those affected will get priority.
We are here to demonstrate our support, not just morally, but also in every which way that we can.
As the royal wedding fast approaches, there's one thing Prince Harry won't be doing. He's not going to sign a prenup agreement with bride-to-be Meghan Markle. The prince, who's worth an estimated $50 million, reportedly rejected legal advice to protect his assets.
It seems Prince Harry is reluctant to take Kanye West's advice.
We want prenup, yeah. It's something that you need to have.
It's in keeping with older brother Prince William, who also refused a prenup before he married Kate Middleton in 2011.
I think both of us, he's definitely got more brains than me. I think we've established that from school.
It's quite brave. I mean, the royal weddings of their father's generation, the marriages didn't last, apart from Edward and Sophie's, so they're quite brave. But look, I think a lot of the money is tied up in trust anyway.
Harry and Meghan are both worth millions of dollars. Prince Harry's fortune is said to be worth around $54 million.
You know what nobody likes? Nobody likes to show off.
A large chunk was part of his inheritance from his mother Diana.
What happened with Charles? Charles had an old trust. The figure at the end was around about 20-odd million it was paid to Diana. Previous royal brides, something like Fergie, got a really rough deal, around about a couple of million in comparison.
While fiancée Meghan Markle is rumoured to be worth around $7 million, it seems these two are more into romance than riches.
Back home now, and the Jackson's Airport Police Station is officially open and is located near the National Weather Service at 7 Mile. Its completion provides improved facilities for the Royal PNG Constabulary to conduct their duties. The construction, which cost over 1.3 million kina, was fully funded through the PNG Australia Policing Partnership.
With a commitment to increase safety and security in the aviation environment, the Australian Federal Police, in partnership with the Royal PNG Constabulary, National Airports Corporation, and other aviation stakeholders, worked together to make sure that the Jackson's Airport Police Station was completed successfully. Today, the new station was officially declared open by Australian Federal Police Commissioner Andrew Colvin and PNG Police Commissioner Gary Bucky.
And again, policing is such an important part of giving confidence to our community, confidence to our travelling public, that they can pass through an airport, that they can come into this country, they can come into this wonderful city, knowing that their interests are being catered for and that they are safe.
Fully funded through the PNG Australian Policing Partnership Program, a number of infrastructure and logistic support was provided by the Australian government to assist PNG Police. The new building will have offices for many new units, including criminal investigations, bomb search and canine units, and community policing.
I think the challenge for the RPNGC and the government of this Papua New Guinea is to see how we can maintain these facilities after APEC. So the language is not APEC, the language should be APEC and after APEC.
Minister for Civil Aviation, Alfred Manasseh, says that this station will provide the airport area with increased policing capabilities to ensure stakeholders and traveling public feel secure.
This airport police station will facilitate all of those policing requirements, such as aviation security, customs and border control, and any other ordinary policing responsibilities upon the men and women who performed out of this facility.
NAC General Manager Richard Yopo told MTV News that this partnership was a much-needed one. After many years of it being a dream and words on paper, it has now become reality.
154 down to 158, it gives the police additional powers. It gives the police the responsibility for them to actually focus on airport security as well. So this partnership is very important for us.
Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National, MTV News.
Development of the Papua LNG project remains on track. Project developer Total provided an update on its progress today at the second PNG Petroleum and Energy Summit. Participants to the second PNG Petroleum and Energy Summit today were given an update on the Papua LNG project. The update from project developer Total E&P Managing Director Philippe Blanchard. He said given cooperation from all stakeholders, the project remained on track.
So we have to be resilient and we have to focus on projects that will be very strong, very competitive.
According to Blanchard, a key part of the project has been the need to carry out social mapping exercises, which he says has been ongoing for some time.
We believe today that we have found a technical option that is really suitable, and Andrew has hinted a little bit about it. But it's clear in our mind that we have to be resilient, and being resilient means to be cost competitive.
According to Blanchard, PNG is an integral part of the growth of Total in this part of the world, particularly given the value of the known resources. Total is also into exploration offshore with a stake in PPL 339, which Blanchard says is a demonstration of their commitment to the country.
We are everywhere on LNG, along all the value chain, and this is showing the confidence that we have in LNG. And given what the doctor mentioned as well this morning, I think the strategy is the right one.
The move by Total to explore offshore gas resources has been welcomed, with Prime Minister Peter O'Neill commending resource companies for the confidence in venturing offshore in Papua New Guinea.
On the verge of significant discoveries between the waters of Australia and PNG, and our government is encouraging greater investment in this area, in particular in the Gulf of Papua as well as the Bismarck Sea.
However, the Prime Minister also reminded project developers that the government will be looking to ensure that benefits remain in country, with the national government keen on maximizing the returns for local communities.
Invest and ensure that the next projects in this sector is developed on a timely basis. We need to encourage accelerated investment and, of course, continue to encourage upstream exploration.
Here with National MTV News, we go for a break now. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. To some updates on the SP Sports Awards now. Nominations, which was initially set to close last week, has been extended for another 2 weeks. SP Sports Awards Committee Chairperson Tanya Mairi said the new deadline is now the 23rd of March. She is encouraging the public to nominate their chosen candidates for one of the 12 categories, including Best Male and Best Female Athlete of the Year.
You know, we just wanted, we've got a few good nominations so far, so we wanted to extend another 2 weeks. There's a lot happening around town, so we just thought we'd do another final push before the deadline, which is the 28th on Monday. Yeah, so after the deadline on the 23rd, the selection panel will have the first meeting to go through, the nominations, and then I guess we do a final list of the nominees, in the next year. I think it's 2 weeks before the actual event night, which is on the 26th of May.
And we'll have more updates on the SP Sports Awards later this evening on Sports Scene at 8 p.m. Moving on to golf abroad now, and Tiger Woods challenged but stumbled late as Rory McIlroy claimed the drought-breaking win at the Arnold Palmer Invitational.
One shot of the lead, but ultimately fell short as McIlroy found form ahead of next month's Masters with his first tour victory in 18 months.
Oh, no way! McIlroy with 3 in a row and the third the most unlikely.
The Northern Irishman finished with 5 birdies in his last 6 holes to win by 3 shots. Roger Federer delivered a rare outburst in the final at Indian Wells against Juan Martín del Potro.
There's only so much I should say. I told him to go back. I did tell him to go back. Give him a bloody warning or something.
In one of the matches of the year, Federer recovered from a set down to force a decider, but it was Del Potro who claimed a 3-set win.
Juan Martín del Potro is a Masters 1000 champion for the first time in his career.
It's Federer's first loss of 2018.
Don't go away. We'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The NRL Telstra Premiership Round 2 matches were full of upsets and surprises. The most notable being the West Tigers' defeat over 2017 premiers, the Melbourne Storm.
They're looking to get their first win of the season. They want early.
Thursday night footy saw the Sharks take on the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Sharks raced to a comfortable 14-0 lead.
Brayley out to the right for Townsend again, but Coog is going to stroll over.
PNG international Nene McDonald scored the try of the round with an acrobatic finish to put the Dragons on the board.
Oh no, I don't think so.
It's close.
Nene McDonald cleanly takes possession of the ball.
A late comeback from the Dragons saw them come out on top with a 20-16 victory. The first of the Friday night doubleheader saw Roosters beat the Bulldogs 30-12. The match also saw Cooper Cronk score his first try for the team. The second doubleheader was a Queensland derby between the Cowboys and Broncos. Broncos dominated most of the match but saw a late fight back from the Cowboys. In what could have been a great comeback, Jonathan Thurston stepped in to put Scott Bolter through a gap, only to be stopped by the left upright.
The upright! He was in! Look at this!
Scotty Bolton.
He was in!
Down, son.
Bang!
On Saturday, the Warriors made it 2 from 2, beating Titans 20-8. The Panthers also managed to steal a 18-14 victory over the Rabbitohs, but the biggest upset of the round would be the worst Tigers defeat over the Storm. The Storm were hoping for a win as Billy Slater ran on to play his 300th NRL game. Slater was not his usual self as errors cost his side their 10-8 defeat. Sunday footy saw the Manly Sea Eagles run away to a whopping 54-0 victory over the Eels, with halfback Delhi Cherry Evans tormenting the Eels throughout the whole 80 minutes. And the last match for round 2 was a nail-biter between the Newcastle Knights and the Canberra Raiders. Though the Raiders were hoping for a win, that was not the case as the Knights managed to steal a 30-28 win. Elijah Levette, National, EMTV Sports.
To the AFL, and Essendon could be without a pair of key players ahead of its season opening clash against Adelaide. But the Bombers' injury concerns haven't worried the team captain, who traded the training track for the racetrack.
Promoting the Valley, there's plenty of talk Essendon will be jockeying for the top four. And despite indifferent pre-season form, they're embracing it.
We're certainly super driven as a group, and we'll see how it pans out, but we'll be looking forward to drive deep into finals.
In racing language, Essendon face a hard first up, grand finalists Adelaide. Friday night, the first time we'll see Essendon's trade trifecta, Jake Stringer, Adam Sard and Devon Smith.
We've made great inroads throughout this pre-season, but hopefully we can see that transfer into games now.
While Taylor Walker's not expected to play, the Bombers have injury concerns of their own. David Myers spotted at scans. Mystery also surrounding Darcy Parish's fitness. He also had precautionary scans this morning, the Bombers refusing to say what for. At Melbourne, there's still concern over Tom McDonald's foot. While his hot spot isn't worse, it's still got potential to develop into a fracture. The forward was put through a thorough test this morning. It's highly unlikely they'll risk him against Geelong. In better news for the Demons, despite an injury, sources say Clayton Oliver should play. We're spoiled for football this weekend, the much anticipated women's grand final right in the middle of 5 men's blockbusters. And Seven understands the AFL wants a dedicated weekend for the women's grand final next season. And with just 3 days until the season, James Hurd's still considering a part-time coaching role with Ross Lyon at Fremantle. He should make his final call tomorrow.
It has been a season to remember for the skiing star Marcel Hirscher. However, high winds in Sweden on Sunday meant the final of the calendar had to be cancelled, depriving the Australian of a chance to get an outright record of 14 wins in a single World Cup season.
It was a season that promised so much for skiing's biggest stars. The completion of a lifelong ambition.
You're allowed to feel nervous, but then I also want to be able to grab that opportunity and win that gold.
The chance to become the greatest.
I have the capability of winning a medal, if not multiple medals.
A personal mission that went beyond personal ambition.
If it weren't for my grandfather, I wouldn't be racing. I hope I can make him proud.
But in ski racing, things seldom go according to script. For Michaela Schifrin, a stunning record-breaking season was tempered by the sober reality of an Olympic dream blown off course. High winds and high pressure, scuppering her chances of a historic gold medal haul in Pyeongchang. But 1 month on, as this 23-year-old celebrates her second straight overall title, the highest accolade in alpine racing, with 3 Olympic medals and a whopping 43 World Cup wins, the future is nothing but bright for Michaela Schifrin.
In first place, Michaela Schifrin.
I want to find the way to do everything I can so that I can stay at the top and not have those kinds of heart-breaking races where I make mistakes. But all in all, I'm really happy with how the season went.
While her reign is set to continue, the end is now in sight for Lindsey Vonn. After a bronze medal in Pyeongchang ensured a podium finish to her Olympic career, now it's breaking the World Cup record that beckons before Vonn can retire. Just 5 more wins to become the most successful ski racer in history.
My focus now is just to try to beat Ingemar's record. I'm 4 behind and relatively healthy, so that'll be my focus from here on out.
Vonn isn't the only one proving that age is no barrier to success. Last month, Norway's speed king Axel Svindal became the oldest alpine Olympic champion to finally secure the one medal that's eluded him: downhill gold.
You know, you hope for it, but when it happens, it's almost unreal.
But if this eventful season is to end with one standout achievement, let it be that of Marcel Hirscher. Despite breaking his ankle just before the start of the season, Hirscher powered his way back to take 2 triumphant Olympic gold medals and now an unprecedented 7th overall season title. That puts him quite simply in a league of his own. People are calling you the greatest of all time. What does that mean to you?
It is hard to compare former athletes and now modern athletes, but this should be spoken out by other people than by myself.
What comes next for Marcel Hirscher?
Summertime.
Next season, gold, silver and bronze will be up for grabs once again when the White Circus returns here to Ari for the Skiing World Championships for another potentially record-breaking season that promises to be every bit as thrilling as the last.
And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have the weather details for you when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Rainy periods expected in Port Moresby, Daru and Kerama. Thundery rain for Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, rain and showers expected in Leh. Showers and thunderstorms for Wau. Some showers expected for Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, some showers expected in Rangau and Kavieng. Thundery showers for Buka, Kokopo and Rabaul. Showers and thunderstorms for Kimbe. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect some rain over the next 24 hours with morning fog. To look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, the waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, New Island, Hood Point to Samarai Island, with waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of Finchafen through Vitias and Dampier Straits to CSC Island to Long Island, and with waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, and waters of New Britain to New Island and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Samarai Island to Cape Bogle to Finchafen, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas light with moderate to southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. Solomon Sea, seas light with moderate to clockwise winds at 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas rather rough with northwesterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas moderate with northwesterly winds at 15 to 20 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, a recap of our top stories this evening. Adventist Mission Aviation to fly earthquake victims home to Mount Bosavi. One person arrested for vandalizing cables in Goroka, and another bridge washed away by floods in Medang. And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Monday the 19th of March 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.